All right, so in this video here, I'm going to do something a little bit different than what I normally do. I'm going to share with you exactly what I did and how I manifested $1 million, almost 5,000 square foot house completely, totally for freaking free. So anyway, if you are brand new here to my channel, let me introduce myself real quick. My name's Judy. I teach all things intuition and psychic development. So if you're going through a spiritual awakening journey, whether some weird, crazy things just started happening or you went through some kind of traumatic event and you're looking to the non-physical world to assist you, I'm your girl. That's my jam. That is what I do. I live, eat, and breathe and practice every single thing that I talk about or preach. So if any of those things or that scope of all of that stuff interests you, make sure you hit the follow button. And if you're not already a follower, I'm going to give you a quick hot second to do that right now. All right, so normally when I do these videos, I have a very specific script and a format that I follow. But for when it comes sake to the sake of me just sharing with you personal real life experiences and stories, you're just going to get me, okay? So this might be a little bit of a longer format type video than what you're used to. Just think of these type of videos that I'm going to do going forward as like you and I just kind of hanging out and having a conversation. All right, so let me kind of back up and give you a little bit of context as to you know what? All right, for the people who are very impatient, the super fast version, and then I'll give you the more specific version. The super fast version, there was a bunch of heavy traumatic shit going on in my life, and I finally got my head out of my ass and decided to take my relationship with my spirit guides very seriously, because obviously what I was doing was not freaking working. So I took my relationship with my guides extremely serious, following to the T everything they told me to do, regardless of how much it pushed me out of my comfort zone or scared me. Now, when I say scare, I just mean things that are new to you, like having that really hardcore trust and faith in something, that something is going to work out, right, in your favor. Um, just working with my spirit guides to heal out everything that was blocking, stopping, and derailing me, and having them help me channel in a different kind of energy, which was essentially the true energy of me, my essence, and why I'm here and what it is that I'm supposed to do and the kind of life that I'm supposed to live. So there was a lot of healing involved in that, and then channeling in, we'll say like upgrades, right? So to speak. Now, if you want to hear the longer version of that with more specifics, here we go. Hang out and enjoy the video. So to give you a little bit of a backstory, um, a lot of, I'll say, my past life, which is really this current life, but it feels like it was forever ago. I suffered with addiction issues, poverty, being homeless, and a string of traumatic events that kind of landed me into a heaping hot mess, suffering with PTSD. I, much like you, probably, probably like you, tried meditating, reading my cards, doing positive affirmations, making vision boards, all of the stuff that you find on the internet, right? None of it really freaking worked. Now, I will tell you, to a certain extent, all of those things do work, but I found that a lot of people do them wrong. Their energy, their intent, their mindset, their emotions, it's coming from a place of desperation, need, or lack, or control, to where a lot of people are not energetically able to really connect with that energy, that vibe, and that emotion. That is when the healing comes into play. Understanding, discovering and understanding what your blocks are. So, to give you an example, Um, I was used to living in an area of very low poverty, put it that way. To give you a picture of what that looks like, used to living in neighborhoods where there's people out front walking the streets who are drunk, public drunkenness, watching people out front stick needles in their body to shoot up their heroin. Like that was just like the normal neighborhood type things. Not very safe, not very clean. That was all I could afford at the time, right? It was a roof over my head. Beggars can't be choosers, right? I would tune into and focus on do me a favor, give me a thumbs up for this video if you could relate to what I'm about to say right now. As a mom, you kind of have that thought or that feeling that there has to be more. There has to be something freaking better than the life you've been dealt or the life you've been living or whatever kind of baloney has been dumped on you and thrown in your lap. You might not know what it is or how to get there, but you really feel this can't be my freaking life. There has to be more. And then on top of that, as a parent, right? You want to be able to provide for your children and give them a better life than the one you've been living and or experiencing, right? If you can vibe with that, please like the video. There was a mix of a lot of different things that I did, and they all revolved around my guides telling me that like there's work that you need to do. This is not one of those things where you just lay down and don't do shit and it just magically drops into your lap. All of the psychic stuff, working with your guides, it does not work that way. The reason why it doesn't work that way is because that puts you in the victim mentality. I'm a victim, woe is me. Somebody come in and save me and do all the work while I just lay here and do nothing. That might have pissed some of you off, but that is the God's honest freaking truth. When you do this kind of work, there is going to be certain responsibilities and actions that you need to physically take for you to show up in the world as, I'll say, the next level version of yourself and working with your guides so they know, oh, okay, this girl ain't effing around. She's serious. Let's give her exactly what she needs, right, to go forward. So, starting out with knowing, thinking, feeling, there has to be something better, there has to be something more, right, on top of wanting to do better as a parent. One of the physical things that I used to do was go to IKEA, right? How many of you like comment below IKEA if you know what IKEA is, right? I used to spend several hours on the weekend in IKEA, and what I would do is I would go there and sit in all of the staging areas and just pretend. Pretend it was my living room, pretend it was my kitchen. Now, if you've been to IKEA, you know the majority of that is um for like very tiny apartments, 800 square foot homes, like really tiny condensed things. But they also do have areas for, massive walk-in closets and massive kitchens, right? So they kind of do go both ways with that. Funny thing is, my one house, I manifested what I call my IKEA house because I spent so much freaking time there. But when it came to, okay, I already manifested my IKEA house to get me out of the bad neighborhood, right, into a better one. I wanted to do even more, even better, right? What I did worked. Let me go to another level. So, one of the first things, like I said, I would do is I would spend a lot of time in IKEA, just sitting in the staged areas, not just walking through and looking through it and, oh, I wish this was my living room, or I wish, no, 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 no. Sit your ass down. Open up all the kitchen cabinets and the drawers and visualize where you would put your silverware, where you would put your pots and pans. Stand in the wardrobes, right? And visualize and tune into this rack is going to be all my dresses. Like, really pretend like it's yours, right? Really sit into it and go deeper, okay? That's just surface level stuff. That's kind of like helping you get conditioned to tuning into the energy of it, right? So the other thing that I used to do was I would go on like Zillow and all of those like real estate apps. And I'd look at houses that, according to basic thought, logic, and reason, and what was physically in my bank account at the time, there's no freaking way I could ever afford, the kind of houses that I was looking at. Way, 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 way out of my budget, let alone anything that I would get a mortgage approval for. So again, I would look at these listings and I would tune into, okay, I'm shopping, I'm this, I want to buy this one, I want to buy that one. The second negative thoughts and beliefs would creep up, you have to immediately catch them and evaluate where are they coming from? Why do you believe them, these negative thoughts? I could never, it's because society, the way you're programmed, the things that you absorbed. That's essentially why, right? Fast forward, because we're talking about discovering blocks. Something else that I used to do is I would physically go to, I would look on Zillow, allow myself the freedom to play. I would physically go to open houses with the ones that I could never afford. And I would take my time and walk around the house. And I would tune into the energy, again, allowing myself to daydream. I'm going to paint the kitchen, this color, and I'm going to set up the living room furniture here, and like all of the changes that I would do. And again, the same thing like with the IKEA, except now we're in a physical house. Visualizing me and my family out back, playing in the pool, having picnics, grilling, doing all of the fun stuff. Again, taking note to any thoughts, limiting beliefs that would come up. The other thing that I would do was I would go to certain neighborhoods that I wished I'd lived in, higher end neighborhoods. And again, I would take note to, ooh, now this is a little bit different. This isn't just IKEA or me walking through a house I know I couldn't afford at the time. Physically going to certain neighborhoods. And I would notice immediately I felt like I did not belong there. Almost like, excuse the phrase I'm going to use, like trailer trash, right? I don't belong there. This isn't my place. And then again, evaluating what are the negative things, where is all of this shit coming from? Again, society, cultural programming, and the way that you were raised. So when I would gather, you want to kind of be like the scientist collecting data, right? Collecting the data on what are the negative things that pop up for you. Because essentially what's really going on is those negative things, it's your ego talking to you. Okay. And what's happening is your ego and your non-physical, your soul, are clashing. Okay. That is how you know you're out of alignment with who you are as a soul, right? Shit's just off. It's crazy. It's out of whack. You're unplugged from who you are, your path, your purpose, your every freaking thing. The other thing that I would do, like I said, I'd pay attention to all the negative thoughts and beliefs that would come up, and I would work with my guides to do a hardcore healing and clearing, or what I refer to as a gut job session. It's essentially, if you can think of yourself as like you absorbed all of, negative, other people's negative thoughts and beliefs, stories that you told yourself in order to keep yourself safe or survive or protect yourself. It's like a combination of all kinds of things. If you can kind of tune into and visualize that all of that stuff is like toxicity, right? When you work with your guides, they can suck all of that energy out and then install the new. So when you get in the flow, and I'll be completely honest with you, this is not a one and done type thing. Okay, so like to give you an example, I'm going to be 50 next month. So, say if I just started doing this now, that means for the last 50 years, those thoughts, those negative beliefs, and those patterns have been like really locked onto me. You think you're going to undo 50 years worth of shit in like a one session? No. Okay. So I don't want to mislead anybody into thinking that, that's a one and done. This is something that I had to, again, it's softening the ego. Remember that clash, right? I had to like kind of like just gently release the grip that the ego had, which was essentially, in a weird way, putting to death the old version of myself. So the new one, the true one, can come in and be birthed. If that makes sense to you. So between kind of allowing yourself to play, right? And while you're playing, you're taking note, you're gathering data as to all the negative thoughts, beliefs, patterns, things that come up for you, right? All the negativity, just throw it in one big freaking bucket, right? You want to do a healing and a clearing session with your guides on the root cause as to that negativity, where it came from, the ages that you picked it up from, who you picked it up from or learned it, or why you told yourself these stories. Those are the things that you got to go through and do the gut job on. Now, I will tell you, there's other, we're talking about, doing the standard stuff that most people do. I have here, like I laminate things and save things. Um, when it comes to vision boards and stuff like that, I'll give you a little tidbit here, right? So if you haven't been paying attention, pay attention to this little tiny tidbit that I'm going to give you here right now, because it's something a little bit different than what a lot of people tell you to do online, right? When I wrote down my new home, it might be backwards for you, new home must-haves. Um, I should probably, I'll take a photo of it. Let me do that now. Although it's probably going to be laminated. I don't know if we're going to be able to see if it's going to come up correctly. I'll kind of scoot it right here for you if I can. All right, so if you noticed, I have on one side it says the inside and the other side it says the outside, the inside of the property and the outside of the property. So for the inside, I wrote down wardrobe, right? A room with a center aisle for shit, right? Walls that like an IKEA closet. But notice I have the little heart and I wrote, how does that feel? Right? Energetically, how does that dream wardrobe feel? To me, it feels classy and rich, right? Then the second one, two fireplaces, right? I'm like a pyro, right? I like fire. I like the warmth of fire, the coziness of the fire, the romanticness of a fire, releasing things and throwing things into the fire. So fire was very important to me. Um, so I wrote down, I want two fireplaces. And again, the little heart, how does it feel? Not what you think it would feel like literally freaking feel it. How does it make you feel? You have to tune into that energy of that. So anyway, outside, property, space, private enough that I could sit outside naked, right? To me, so that feels like vulnerability and safety, right? You get the idea. I'm not going to go through all the things on that list. So between scientists collecting data, right? Paying attention to what those negative thoughts, patterns, beliefs were, doing healing and clearing sessions with my guides on those, writing out very specifically what it is that I want and how does it make me feel, right? Physically going to places, right? Doing the work again, catching the things that are coming up, anything negative. When I got myself into a space, like I shit you not, in my old home, downstairs, you want to incorporate as many physical things as you can. In the basement of my old home, I took all of my clothes and I turned a portion of my basement into like a makeshift walk-in closet or wardrobe type room. Like I hung PVC poles from the ceiling, hung all my clothes. I hung like a really nice mirror, put down a carpet, right? Something I got at like Big Lots or whatever, $30 cheapie something, and kind of stage that whole area. So there, you see that there's a lot of different things that kind of come into play with the whole process to it. So when I was able to finally get myself to the point where there was no, I hope, I wish, I pray, when it was almost like my fantasy world was my reality. Like even though I was in the current home I was in, Physically I was there, but energetically, mentally, emotionally, I was somewhere else, living a different reality. It would give you an example. I did the same thing when I manifested one of my sports cars, right? I used to drive a minivan, a Chrysler Town and Country, because we had like three, four kids, right? When the kids started to get older, and I was like, because I am not a minivan person, I just strictly did it because I had to. But when it got to the point where like the kids were getting older and I wanted a vehicle that represented me, right? Some kind of old school sports car, T-tops, right? Um, physically, I was driving my minivan, but energetically, spiritually, vibrationally, I was driving my Firebird, right? Completely different kind of car. So just kind of give you a little insight on playing with things there. Do me a favor so far. Comment below if you are able to pull away some golden nuggets. If anything that I've said so far, if you're actively listening, you should have been able to pull out several different key pieces. Comment below if you're that person who's picking up on any of these key pieces that I'm putting down, because I'm dropping a lot of gold nuggets. Okay, now we're moving on to how the frick did I get this house for free? When I was energetically in that state where pretty much, I want to say 80 to 90% of my day, I was energetically in a different space. Like whenever I drive down my street, I wasn't on my street. I was in a different neighborhood, right? With different houses. And then I physically go to you get the idea here, right? I'm not going to keep recapping. But when I was in that state where it was like a massive portion of my day was kind of like living in a fantasy land without having those negative thoughts or beliefs creep up into my head, my guides told me to end my romantic relationship. The person that I was dating, they flat out told me end that relationship, like full blown end it, not just end it, have a freaking funeral for this person. Like we'll say a life celebration, right? This is where the faith really came in. Because in my brain, I was like, I don't really want to end this relationship. Like, what the fuck kind of what? Why are they telling me to do that? Um, but again, I noticed, at this point, it wasn't even like I wasn't actively trying to manifest because I did so much work to clear the things out in my brain. As weird as it sounds, like if anybody who's done this, like I'll tell you, it does require some practice. But it was like it wasn't even in my brain anymore that I wanted a new house. I wanted to provide a safer, better area. It's just I was just energetically in that flow as if I already had it and I was already living it and energetically feeling with it and vibing with it and not worrying about the current physical whatever it was that was around me and going on. My guides told me end the relationship. I did. I listened. I even went as far as like blocking this person, right? Digging a hole in my backyard, burying some things, some keepsake, because it was painful for me. Looking at certain things. Um, Having a whole funeral, so to speak. If you're into like the woo-woo type witchy stuff, I had a full-blown funeral. So I kept tuning into even forget the house, the energy of wealth and creating wealth. Um, my business, the kind of income that I wanted to make, the dreams that I had of how many different, the kinds of people I wanted to help and work with, which was basically just an older, a different version of me a couple years prior, right? Well, don't you know? Um, One day I went out to a bar, and the person that I broke up with, this was like maybe 6 weeks later, right? I ran into that person randomly at the bar. And he came up to me and he's like, I went and did something crazy. I'm like, okay, okay, great, good for you. Like what, I had to put on the poker, no emotion type face here. Um, and he's like, I went and I bought us a house. I'm like, you didn't buy us a house. You bought you a house. I had nothing to do with this. I did not go look at it. No, and he's like, no, you don't understand. He's like, this house is so big. He's like, next time you get upset with me or pissed off at me, you can have your own freaking wing. Well, here's the other kicker too. The house, it's like you have to understand the energetically lining up with the timing of things, right? This house, it was valued at over $1 million. Um, but it was in foreclosure. And it was vacant for, I think the bank said like 3 years, and it was being sold as is. So we did not know if there, well, he didn't know. I didn't go with him to pick it out, to scoop it up. But it was just one of those like, holy freaking shit, phenomenal deals. The house is being sold at half of the value as to what it is really worth, right? And when you scoop up a deal like that, you do some home improvements, then the value of it even, skyrockets even freaking more. So I'll show you some pictures here of, um, you know, the home during construction and then after, and that's that's the kind of combobulated, not so great scripted timeline of how I manifested $1 million plus house for free, right? And then through doing that, living in a different area, getting like physically living, in a different area, a safer area, tuning into the energy of that, relaxing and how that feels, and like, holy shit, like this really is my home. This is where I live. This is where I'm raising my last child, right? This is like, holy freaking cow, right? And then again, things are going to come up. The key here that I want you to take away, as things come up, those are the things that block you and block people, okay, from achieving certain type things. So continuing to, tune into, repeat the process, the scientist collecting data, the healing, the energetically, tuning into things, within 1 year, because remember, I was like, it's just barely making ends meet as a single mom on my own, right? Keeping my fingers crossed, hoping and wishing and praying. I hope the freaking car transmission doesn't break. I hope the refrigerator doesn't take a dump, right? Because I don't know how to I'm just barely scooting by making ends meet. Within a year of living in this home and tuning into the energy of wealth and clearing out all of my blocks, my business just blew the freak up in a matter of a short few months. Next thing you know, I'm generating over $500,000. Social media is blowing up. So you see, like, how do I want to end this? Well, first of all, if you want to learn more about working with your guides, your spirit guides, because like I said, ultimately, that is what I did. I got my head out of my freaking ass because I just couldn't stand the way my life was no more. I have a free 50-minute video training that you can go through and watch. Now, okay, let's be realistic here. You're not stupid. I don't claim to think you're stupid, right? You know how these things go. You're going to watch a 50-minute video that's going to give you a lot of insight, a lot of value, answer a lot of freaking questions. It's then going to ask you if you would like to learn more. Here's an opportunity to go to school. It's me being your teacher teaching you. Okay, so let's back up here. When you know the blueprint to follow, okay, that's very, very very specific, the blueprint to follow. And you get used to constantly repeating that blueprint, right? You're going to start out with little things, right? Because it is kind of hard to go from nothing to something. And the reason being, the version of you that has nothing here and the version of you that has that something, whatever it is, they're two completely different people with two completely different mindsets and the way that they view life and view problems and look at problems. Like I look at problems now as opportunities. Oh shit, yeah. Okay, this thing ain't going right. It's effed up. It ain't working. This is an opportunity to heal something. It's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to get stronger. It's an opportunity to get wiser. Like, as opposed to someone who just gets sucked into it, right? They're two different people. So the whole point of doing the healing and the clearing sessions is to clear out the version of you that's here to help you tune into this version. Like I said, this version, this person thinks differently, they process things differently, they handle things. It's a different version of you. It's not the same version, right? Because if you don't do those healing and clearing sessions in between, you're never going to be able to, you could get like a one-off quick win manifestation, right? And by the way, there's three different types of manifestation. There's the I have no idea what the frick I want. I just want something better. There is the just enough to get by, which still puts you in lack mode. And then there is the quantum jumping, like my story, completely different life reality, person, whole new freaking everything, right? Work with your spirit guides to achieve that kind of stuff. But when you get used to following the basic blueprint, it gets easier and easier and easier, and then you're able to do bigger and bigger and bigger and better things, right? I mean, at this point right now, I can afford to buy three or four of these homes all by myself as a single mom. I realized that a lot of my blocks came from a lot of different fears. Fears that and like stupid stories, right? We'll give you an example. Money is the root of all evil. Or people who have money, they're snobby, stuck-up people, right? So I had this fear that if I did come into money and wealth, it would turn me into a horrible person. Which didn't happen, right? The other things that came up for me was fear of losing certain friendships and relationships, right? Or are these people like there? I did lose friendships. I realized that some people were still at this level. I wanted to be here. Some of those friendships, they were not willing to go there. And when I did start achieving and succeeding things, oh boy, did it piss off these people. Come to find out, not really friends. Okay, well, the friendship served its purpose. You can't be because they're gonna suck you down, right? They're just not on the same train being a cheerleader for you or them aspiring to achieve, do, become, or have the same things. They want to stay down here where they're at in their comfort zone. I was afraid of new relationships coming through, friendships, and people just looking at me like using me just for what I had to offer or what I could give, right? So there's a lot of different things that come into play. The other thing, again, tell me if you can relate. I grew up in a household being told that unless you have a college degree or a trade under your belt, I don't have either one of those. Be prepared to work two and three jobs, right? And work yourself into the freaking ground and rack up as much freaking overtime as you possibly freaking can, right? So my point to telling you these things is that there's a lot of worldly ways or rules that society is going to tell you and pump into your head. They are not true. They're not true. It's all bullshit, all lies, bullshit. Other people's limiting beliefs, thought patterns. Again, when I was talking about working with your guides, you have to suck out all of that shit. Suck it all out, right? Or let them do it. And then install this version of you so you can energetically vibe with what it is that you want and maintain it. Because there was also fears of, oh, what if I get it and I lose it all? Right? So you see, it's like there's a lot more things that just kind of come up for you. But when you know the process and you've done it a bazillion freaking times over, you're able to go to bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, grander, wonderful things. So hopefully you got some value out of this video. Again, if you want to learn more specifically about working with your guides, in the description and in the first comment area, I'll put a link there for you, okay? So anyway, that's what I got for you. I'll be posting more videos. Comment below. What are some questions you have, things that interest you, and I'll make some more videos on it. Okay. I really suck at saying goodbye. So anyway, I'm gonna shut up now and work on making another video here for you for this channel. All right. See you guys later.